Alright guys, today we're going to review slope. So slope is the steepness of a line. It is often referred to as m when it's in a variable form. The formula for finding the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Y2 minus y1 is also known as the rise, which you can also see on the graph of the points. And x2 minus x1 is also known as the run. So the rise of a graph is the graph's distance of going up or down. So it can be positive or negative, and the run can also be positive or negative, which is the measure of a graph's ability to go left and right between 2 points. X1 and Y1 are determined by the value of the first point. So the first point will determine what is X1 and Y1. The second point will determine what is X2 and Y2. In this example here, we have 3 lines on this graph. The coordinates, we're going to find the slope of AB, and we're going to do that by using its coordinates. So we're going to do y2, so we're going to pick one of these points to be 0.1 and one of these points to be 0.2. So y2 should be 1 because that is the y value of the point B, minus the y value of point A, which is 2, over the x value of point 2, which is 3, minus the x value of point 1, which is 1. And if we simplify this, the slope of AB is going to be equal to negative 1 over 2. So this has a slope of down 1 and right 2, which we can also see on the graph. It goes down 1 and right 2 to get from one point to another. We can also find the slope of a line using the line itself. So the slope of CD we can find by just counting. So I'm going to count from one point to the next. I go down 1, which is a rise of negative 1, and I go right 2 to get to the next point, which is a run of 2. So they happen to have the same slope. You'll also notice that those lines are parallel. So parallel lines have equivalent slopes. So parallel lines have equivalent slopes. Now I don't say equal slopes because while their slopes are equal, when you actually calculate them, maybe you pick 2 different points and maybe you get a equivalent slope. So if we would have gotten negative 3/6, that is equivalent to the negative 1/2 and would still be parallel. Let's find the slope of the yellow line using points E and F. So the slope of the yellow line is to go from the point on the left, we'll call it 0.1, to the second point on the right, which is 0.2. The rise is 2, and the run is 1. So the slope of the yellow line, which is, again, EF, is a rise of 2 and a slope of 1. Now, normally you would write that the slope is 2, but I'm purposely writing it as 2 over 1 because it'll be helpful for what we're going to talk about in a moment, which are perpendicular lines. So perpendicular lines have what are called negative reciprocal slopes. So if you looked closely, you might have noticed that these graphs appeared to meet at right angles on both the green and blue lines. And what I mean by a negative reciprocal is that the slope of the yellow line EF is positive, and you'll see positive lines go up this way and negative sloping lines go down this way as you go to the right. But this slope is positive and these slopes are negative. So that's part of being negative reciprocals and being perpendicular. So perpendicular lines have negative reciprocals, or negative reciprocal slopes. We'll write it. Well, it's on the notes on the left side. I'll go over there in a moment. So reciprocal means to flip the fraction. So this is 1 over 2. This slope is 2 over 1. Negative means this slope is negative, this slope is positive. Therefore, we can say that AB is perpendicular to EF, because their slopes are negative reciprocals. CD is also perpendicular to EF, because their slopes are negative reciprocals. So this was a negative 1/2 being compared to 2 over 1. This was negative 1/2 being compared to 2 over 1. We also saw that AB was parallel to CD, and that's because their slopes were the same. We had negative 1 over 2 compared to negative 1 over 2. All right, so here are the notes on parallel and perpendicular lines in relation to their slopes. You can pause the video and take that down now. And I'm just going to ask you a question given a couple of fake slopes. So if I gave you a line GH, XY, and LM, and I told you their slopes, and the slope of GH was 6 over 7, the slope of XY was negative 21 over 18, and the slope of LM was 36 over 42. My question to you would be, which lines are parallel and which lines are perpendicular?